What's up guys, welcome back to another one. Today we're going to be working on the accessory drive on the 350Z. I know you guys have been itching for an update on this thing, so let's get started. So I'm going to be putting the car pulley on. I just took the truck pulley off. You can see the difference in size. Truck pulley sticks out another 3/4 of an inch. So that's why I'm going to put this on first, and then I'll know exactly where the rest of the belts need to be, or the rest of the pulleys need to be for the belt alignment. Alright, so we're going to get this pulley on. Just going to heat it up, and then we'll slide it on there. So you go around it for a couple minutes. What I found works pretty good is if you just stand it up and like roll it back and forth. I've done that a few times and it works pretty good. There you go. She's on. Got this alternator bracket welded up, and first half of that thing actually looked pretty decent. I think this is the first time I've actually stuck two pieces of metal together. Mild steel with the TIG, maybe. I don't know. I did a couple beads, but that one looked okay. Not too bad. It's going to be hidden anyway, so good practice. Alright, so here's what we got. I almost didn't record anything, so bear with me on this one. This is pretty much the near final setup. This is how everything's going to be. Everything is bolted into place now, where it should be. I'm going to have to bring the alternator a little farther forward. I kind of brain farted a little bit. I was just mocking it up with this one bolt. I just had that bolt kind of spaced out with 3 washers, and that's how long it is. And I made the bottom bracket in the wrong spot, so I'm gonna have to pop this forward about a 1/2 inch. It's not too far off, but basically all of this stuff, I set it up so I'll be able to move it forward or backwards. So I can either space it out or move it back, get everything lined up. So nothing's really too permanent. I guess nothing in life is ever permanent, but let's go through each little piece and I'll kind of explain how I did it. So this one I did have mounted up here a little bit higher, but it was too high, so I brought it down a little bit more, and this is how it's gonna go. It's gonna in between the water neck and underneath the intake. So when this thing is tight, it's pretty good. It doesn't move around at all, so I'm not really too worried about that. And this is how I have the truck set up right now, where my blow-off valve is. This thing is like less than a 1/4 inch away from that little band there, and it doesn't hit it or anything, so I'm not really too worried about it. It's about the same distance. So here I just did a plate straight across that went to 2 bolts on the head, and then I ran a different bolt through here. I'll probably get a shorter one and then just put a nut on the back side so this isn't bent, but I'll be able to kind of shim this and put it wherever I need it to be, and the tensioner is flipped upside down so it does pull tension out this way. Water pump, that didn't really change. This is just an idler. This was off of the truck power steering pump alternator assembly. I just pulled this idler off of there and then made this little bracket up here. So I welded some nuts onto the back, and this little bracket is held on with a water pump bolt, and that's what's holding this idler on. And that idler's pretty good. This thing does need to be tightened a little bit, but that should be okay. Power steering pump, made a little bracket again, just going straight across, and there's one bolt inside the power steering pump, and that's just going through the center of the bracket. So it's kind of hard to see in there, but there's 2 little tabs, and I actually rested the power steering pump inside those little tabs so it doesn't turn or pivot or do anything weird. It's in there pretty tight. It does rock forward and back a little bit, but nothing is in here really completely tight yet. So I can still modify this and build a little support bracket, or I might just run a plate through like this, so this bolt can go into, and then it won't pivot or rock at all. So that's how the power steering pump works. And then power steering line comes right down over here. It'll go over the top of where the heater hose lines are coming out of the water pump. And then alternator, all I did was use a piece of angle, one on the back side, and then it bolts into the block. And then I use a piece of flat stock and then just welded 2 tabs on here. So I'll probably bring this thing out another 1/2 inch, just drill some different holes and run it forward. But thing's pretty easy. So that's how it works. Everything's in there. I'll just have to keep an eye on this, make sure that's in the right spot. And then air conditioning bracket, that'll go right here, and that's where it was on the car before. So I'll be able to run everything. Just bring this down and plug it all in, and then I'll run it off the back side of this pulley right here. So everything's there, everything should work. As long as everything is positioned in the right spot, the belt shouldn't fly off. So it may take a little bit of tweaking and shimming and whatever, but kind of set it up so I can, because I don't think it'll be perfect the first time. Nothing ever is. So that's what it looks like. So tomorrow I'm just gonna go and kind of measure and get the right size bolts. I used M10x1 bolts on everything, bolts and nuts, because that's what's threaded into the head and threaded into the block. So just kept the same size bolts for everything and keep it simple, and hopefully this thing works. So yeah, what do we got left? I did throw the other headlight on because I was a little concerned when I put the throttle body and the intake on there that this thing wasn't going to clear, but it's pretty close. It's pretty tight, but that was to be expected, I guess. Engine's farther forward than normal, but let's see what we got here. So I gotta kind of dial in where the pulley positions are. Tomorrow I'm gonna put the intake on. Listen to me. Put the oil pan on, hopefully for the last time. Bolt the exhaust up, fill the trans and everything, bleed the slave cylinder. Try to do all that stuff tomorrow. Without getting overly ambitious, I'd like to start to work on getting the fuel system hooked up. I'll probably try to use the stock fuel pump for a little while. Should be good on this thing. If not, I do have an inline pump, and what they were doing with the supercharger kit is they ran an inline pump over to here, and it's powered by the factory fuel pump through the inline pump to the engine. But I don't think I'm going to need to do that, but that's an option. I'm going to try to use the factory fuel pump to run this thing. It should be good. Then other than that, what else do we got? So tomorrow I should be able to get most of that stuff done, and then I'd like to possibly start to work on the wiring and just even maybe try to run it this weekend. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little ambitious here, but maybe I could try to run it in the next 3 days, holiday weekend, so we'll see. Got a couple extra days off. So I'd like to get that old harness out, and maybe even if I have to like flop a computer over there and just drape the harness over it just to get it started without a radiator or anything, try that, and once I hear it run, that'll get me nice and excited, some motivation. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.